A secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to the kitchen chair, she broke your throat and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
It's not a cry that you hear tonight. It's not somebody who's seen the light. It's a chord and it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
A light went out on earth the day we said goodbye, and on that day a star was born, the brightest in the sky, reaching through the darkness with its rays of purest white, lighting up the heavens as it once lit up our lives. With beams of love to heal the broken heart you left behind, you're always in our memories. Your lovely star will shine. I speak of Maurice Gordon Connlley, better known to you all as Maury. I warmly welcome you this afternoon as we gather today to celebrate Maury's life and to give thanks for the time and the moments that we shared with him. My name is Delma Carpenter, and along with Jesse and his colleagues from Parkside Funerals, we feel privileged to have been asked to conduct this service for you. And please, if you haven't done so already, now is a good time to turn your mobile phones onto silent. Today we share a powerful sense of loss, combined with the recognition that when a loved one leaves us in a moment, when we're unprepared, it challenges our senses of the rightness of things. Maurice's unexpected death has left us still grappling with the thoughts that he's no longer here anymore. No time to prepare, no time to say goodbye, and we're left with the things that we didn't say or we didn't do. Maurice was greatly loved and will be greatly missed, and I'm sure since his passing you've thought back over the relationship that you had with him and the memories that you shared. The memory of a loved one who is no longer with us can be a powerful aid to coping with grief. Grief is a great indicator and a measure of love, and these two emotions go hand in hand like two sides of a coin. They are inseparable. The more you love, the more you grieve. We will always hold Maurice close to our hearts and dear in our memories, and we're grateful that he lived and walked in our world. And while there is sadness in your hearts at this time, we can feel happy for the moments that brought us joy and the times he made us laugh and smile. So let's today cherish those moments and stories, because that's what made Maurice the special person that he was. I'd like to invite Maurice's granddaughter Caitlin forward, and she's lovingly written his eulogy, and she's going to share his story with us. I think that's right there, Caitlin, for you.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Caitlin and I'm Maurice's eldest granddaughter. Firstly, I would like to say thank you to everyone for attending today, and to those who couldn't make it in a live streaming, to say farewell to the amazing man that myself, Dimity and Cohen had the privilege to call Pop. What a blessing it was to be able to have the loving relationship and connection that we did with our Pop. Pop was unapologetically himself. He did not worry about what other people thought of him or what he'd done. He lived each day just being him. He was the kind of person who would go without to ensure that those he loved had what they needed. He was not a person who said no often, and especially not to Mum, Dimity, Cohen or myself. Pop was born in Wynyard at the old Wynyard Hospital on the 9th of April 1947 and took his last breath in the early hours on the 13th of September 2023 at the Royal Hobart Hospital. He was number 10 out of 11 children raised by his mother, Daphne Eliza May Connlley, and his father, George Arthur Connolly, who are now both deceased. Being number 10, Pop had many siblings that he loved and adored. He told me how he looked up to his oldest brother George because he was a good, honest person. He spoke about his sister Patricia and expressed how she was different from his other siblings because she was gentle and closest in age to Pop, being just that tad older. Despite having his favourites, as I'm sure we all do, he loved every one of his 10 siblings and found it difficult each time he lost another. Pop grew up in Elliot and East Cam Road and attended Stella Maris Catholic School, Elliot State School and later Maris College all-boys school. He attended church services and Sunday school at St Mary's Star of the Sea Church. Pop's education finished at age 14 and he went on to start work at the Somerset Ply Mill until he was 16 years of age. From there he worked at Cooey Brickworks until he was 18. He then moved on to the Burnie Sawmill up until he was 21. From 26 he worked fixing roads. However, it wasn't until he was 29 and he started working at the pulp mill in Burnie that he found his biggest working achievements. He worked at the pulp mill until he was around 45 years old, and since then has been our stay-at-home Pop. Pop had several interests growing up that included playing sports, helping with the farm work, gardening and fishing. He even had his heavy vehicle licence from a young age that we only realised the other day he was still renewing. Scary, scary thoughts. He always knew of our Nan, and finally they fell in love when Pop was around 30. Their relationship was beautiful, and Pop doted on her and loved her for who she was. Not to say they didn't have arguments, as they could both be as stubborn as each other at times. He helped raise our mum and never left her side. Unfortunately, in 2006 we lost Nan, and our hearts broke, as did Pop's. He spent the remainder of his years ensuring he was there for us as we did for him, up until we watched him take his final breath on this earth last week, all whilst we held his hand. Pop was always there from the moment Dimity, Colin and I were born, and we have many memories with our Pop growing up over the years that I would like to share with you now. Please bear with me if I struggle throughout, as today is one of the hardest days we have ever endured. One of the earliest memories I have is the day Pop decided it would be a good idea to cut my fringe. At the time, Mum and I lived over the back fence from Pop's house, and I had been over at Pop's playing. Well, Pop decided my fringe was in my eyes and I needed a haircut. So Pop, thinking he was a man of many trades, went to work. Well, for the people who haven't seen the photos or heard this story before, let's just say, my poor hair. However, Pop did not know how he was going to tell Mum, so instead, he propped me over the fence, stood me at the back door, knocked and ran. Another time I remember from when I was young was Bernie's showtime, and Nan lived across the road. I'd already been to the show on the Friday, but on the Saturday I was sitting at Nan's hearing all the show sounds, and to Pop I must have looked upset. So Pop decided, well, why not? We will go again. However, Pop thought, why pay when we could sneak in over the fence? He propped me up and over I went, then over he came. Later we realised when we got to Mum, who was working, that it was actually free to walk in after a certain time. But Pop was still quite proud of his sneakiness. Pop's sneakiness continued throughout our years, especially when the COVID pandemic hit and we were in lockdown. Anyone who knew Pop knew how much he loved going to the supermarket, well, the marketplace as he would call it. His other favourites were Bunnings, Domino's, Shiploads and the Reject Shop, and I'm sure he will be missed at all these places. However, during the pandemic, we had been telling him repeatedly that he couldn't and wasn't allowed to go anywhere because we were worried about him catching COVID. One day, a few days into lockdown, Dimity rings Mum at work to say she just heard his car take off and he's heading up the road. Later, he arrives at my house telling me not to tell anyone he was there, and definitely do not tell Mum. Pop believed that as long as he wore a mask during the pandemic, he would never catch it, and look, maybe he was right, because he never did. Although Pop was always out and about going here and there, he loved being at home and he loved us being at home with him. He was our warden who called us daily and sometimes multiple times a day to check in and ensure we were all right. He banged on the doors and walls when Dimity had too long of a shower. He picked us all up from school over the years and made sure to bring attention with honking the horn and waving. He taught Dimity how to ride a bike and watched her go up and down the road. He would hide getting up the ladder from Mum, as she always told him to get down. He hoarded everything in sight, and only recently Mum found an old vacuum under the carport that she had thrown out months ago. He told us when it was time to go to bed and tried to control everything we done. I felt fear telling Pop I was driving to Launceston, because he would say, that's too far, what would you do that for, just stay at home. Mum never had to worry about buying toilet paper until the day after he had passed. We never had to worry about finding wood for the fire, as he had secret places that he got small amounts of firewood from. He called them buddy boxes and refused to tell us where it was from, as he was afraid other people would buy it and he would miss out. So if anyone knows anything about where to get buddy boxes from, could you talk to me after the service so we can stay warm? He would always be coming home with chocolate, or as he called it, lolos. He would pick or drop any one of us off wherever and whenever we needed. Mind you, sometimes it was met with a grumble. I remember years ago when I was about 18, 19, I'd gone to Waratah with a group of friends to camp. Over the weekend, I'd become sick with a cold. Once Pop got wind of me being unwell, he told Mum to call me and say he was on his way. However, he hadn't got fuel before he left home, and the fuel station in Waratah was closed. So he attempted to risk his luck and we started our journey home. We got about 20 minutes out of Ridgely, and what do you know? Pop ran out of fuel. He left me there as it was getting dark and walked to Ridgeley. He was gone for what felt like hours. My phone was flat, and here I was on the side of the road panicking with every car that went by. Until suddenly, a car drove past, done a U-turn and parked behind the car. Now at this point I thought, here we go, I'm going to be abducted. Yes, I know, I was 18, but still. But thank the stars it was Pop with his can of fuel, and he had hitchhiked a ride back to the car. Honestly, the number of times Pop ran out of fuel and risked his luck would be too many to count. Pop always worried about others, which is evident in the several conversations he had with Dimity over the years regarding school. Whenever she would get anxious about something or someone at school, he would say, just don't go. You don't need to worry about that. It's fine. You can stay at home with me. He always worried about Dimity and her going out anywhere that wasn't home. He used to say to her, this is your house. You don't live anywhere else. There were multiple times Dimity had to hide things from Pop because of the lecture she would receive, the lecture we would all receive. The multiple times we all had to hide alcohol from Pop over the years is too many to count due to the lectures about what drinking does to your body. He never did find out about the minor car accident Dimity had last year because, God forbid, the lecture that would have followed, the lecture we all would have received. Pop always carried on about our driving and believed he was the best. He was also delusional at times. Mind you, Pop didn't mind a drink here or there, never much and always far apart. However, there are two stories that spring to mind regarding Pop and alcohol. The first was on Mum's 40th birthday. She had noticed during the night that her Jim Beam cans had slowly been disappearing from the fridge. She asked Pop, who was getting more lopsided every time she asked. He declared it wasn't him, but then he gave himself away by spearing the empty Beam cans out of his bedroom window. The second was Christmas Day, about 8 to 9 years ago. My partner Kyle had been drinking a Tap King keg full of Tui's Extra Dry. Pop started to investigate, and Kyle asked if he wanted a glass. Pop agreed, and well, that was the beginning of the end of him staying sober. The night ended with Pop having a glass of beer in hand, drinking out of a straw and riding a toy stick horse. I love that Pop enjoyed having fun, however there were many times he tried his hardest to diminish any fun happening. Maybe it was because he worried, maybe he just wanted to make us mad. I really don't know. Pop loved a good argument, he loved to fire us up. One weekend when we were watching football and Hawthorn were playing and obviously struggling, out of the blue, Pop picks up a toy phone of Cohen's and starts saying, help, help, the Hawthorn Football Club needs some more players at the MCG. Like I said, he just loved to fire us up. Sundays were his day to be his best, moodiest self. When I say we tried to avoid him on Sundays, I mean we really tried. One night when I was 18, he even called the police while I had friends staying over because we went to McDonald's at 1 a.m. and arrived back home too late for his liking. So instead of just going to sleep and getting over it, he called the police. He never lived that down and he never done it again. He would always be bringing a pizza or some other goodies to our friends' houses when we stayed there. He was always the person Dimity, Cohen and I would tell things to, sometimes even just to get Mum into trouble. Another clear memory we have of Pop is when he wanted to catnap our beloved cat Massey. Massey became unwell and it was time to say goodbye. Pop was standing in the vet with Dimity and I, and we were waiting for Mum to arrive from work. Pop believed that Massey could be saved elsewhere and was whispering to us that we can just take Massey now and get out of there. Dimity and I were refusing, and Mummy's on the phone saying, don't let him take the cat. Pop gave up and walked out grumpy and upset because all he wanted was to save his mate. Pop had many friends over the years, and I know there are a few here today. He was the neighbour that everybody knew and the person who would do anything for anyone. We would need a lifetime to tell you all the memories and stories we have with him. He was the light and sound of our lives, and without him this past couple of weeks, our light has been dimmed, and the silence of him being gone is deafening throughout the house and the street. Mum said when Pop passed that for all her life Pop has been telling her what and what not to do. And she used to say to him, you do realise I'm 50 years of age, you can't tell me what to do. He would say, yes I can. Yet now she doesn't want to do what she wants to do and just wants Pop to tell her what to do. He was the strongest man we have ever known. He has survived many challenging moments, including his stroke 11 years ago and undergoing surgery 2 years ago, which he watched happen, by the way. You will even see some photos shortly of him after that exact surgery. He was healthy, he was wise, he was determined to be here forever. He fought up until the end of his life. All he wanted was to be at home with us. He wanted to continue ringing Cohen's bike bell every time he came to my house. He wanted to believe that he was the best firelighter around. Sparky, we called him, but he couldn't light a fire to save his life. He wanted to watch Cohen grow. He wanted to see me graduate from university. He wanted to see Dimity succeed in life. He wanted more time. He deserved more time. We deserved more time with him. We were robbed of that time. He was and always will be our pop, our person, our everything. No amount of time will change that. We'll miss him every moment of every day. Now I will finish with a prayer as Pop would have wanted. Remind me, Lord, that despite all the trials I'm going through, you are always there to guide me. You are always there to be my comfort and my shelter. As I go through this day, Lord, whatever trials come my way, please be with me. And as you walk with me today, surround me with that peace. P.S. Pop, we have now realised that you did do more than that one job we always said you'd done. We love you forever and always.
Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Matthew 5 verse 4. It's a lovely tribute, Caitlin. I'd like to share with you tributes from good friends Bev and Adam. Maurice Gordon Connlley, remember you as a kind, helpful, generous soul to all. Rest easy, Maurice. Love and peace be with you. May your spirit fly high. Love, Bev and Adam. And from family, from Rachel. We thought of you today, but that's nothing new. We thought about you yesterday and days before that too. We think of you in silence. We often will speak your name, but now all we have our memories and your pictures in a frame. Your memory is our keepsake with which we'll never part. God now has you in his keeping, but you'll be forever in our hearts. It's hard to face loss that we were never prepared for. We always expected you to just be here forever. To some you were just a man that had a lot to say, but to others you were our heart and soul, but still someone who always had a lot to say. A kind and selfless man that would open his home to anyone who needed it, and having first-hand experience of this after you having to put up with me moving in and tolerating me for a period of time too. But family or not, whoever showed up, you were always ready to hand out the biscuits along with a cup of tea. Someone who wasn't afraid to take on whatever job was put in front of you, or was never afraid of lending a hand to a complete stranger. The only thing he was never really good at was sharing his little chocolate stash in his bedroom that Caitlin and I had a habit of sneaking into late at night. Figuring out that his mobile phone was never a strong point either. A man that should show up to your doorstep with absolutely random things that you probably didn't even need, or someone who wouldn't stop in just to see if you did need anything at all, who would stop in to see if you needed anything at all. A man that was one in a million. The stories of you just being you, like Mum and Ken being woken up at the crack of dawn to you scraping the driveway with a shovel to clear the weeds, or you showing up to the pub while Mum and Mandy were doing the cleaning, after Pizza Hut giving you a free pizza because you went in saying you were hungry and they thought you had no money. Even just randomly showing up with a bar of soap or even a cheeseburger. Your presence on this earth will forever be missed, and my family will forever be thankful to you for treating us like we were your family. Growing up, you were always known as Uncle Maurice, but in time you became Pop, and Pop is who you'll always be. From the Donaldsons and Costellos, we want to pass on our deepest sympathies to Mandy, Caitlin and Pim. He was so lucky to have you guys, not just in day-to-day life, but by his side every step of the way to show him love and support in his final chapter. From Rachel. As Caitlin mentioned in her eulogy, and that we were going to have visual memories of Maurice, well, now's that time when we're now going to see his life through the lens of a camera with an audio-visual presentation.
Must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine, that's your way. You always walked a step behind. So I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. A beautiful face without a name for so long. A beautiful smile to hide the pain. Did you ever know that you're my hero?
Sometimes I call you, I know I can't reach you. To hear your voicemail, sorry I missed you. Wish I could go back, tell my old self that you don't have the time to not make time. It goes fast. And I was living like you'd live forever, and it took losing you to learn to love better. To be the daughter who comes home more often, who holds on to a goodbye hug a little longer. To be the best friend who promised to check in, and the kind of sister my brother always needed, who takes time to call just to say hey, 'cause you loved me that way. The first to show up an hour early, front row in the bleachers, to make sure you could see me. You stood in the doorway for every goodbye. I still see you waving underneath the porch light. You were living like you wouldn't live forever. You knew the little things in life are what matter, like making those pancakes, sweet in my heartbreak, pulling me out of school to go fishing on the lake, and me sit beside you for Sunday service. Every time I get antsy, it slip me a Werther's, the first to forgive all my biggest mistakes. Yeah, you loved me that way. Yeah, you loved me that way. I had the honor to be your granddaughter. I could only hope to be half of the whole that you both were. Can only hold you in a picture frame. You held nothing back, gave everything. You loved me that way. You loved me that way.
I love you so much, Poppy. You're the best person in the world.
He was the best person in the world. I offered the families most heartfelt thanks for your presence here today, and also to sincerely thank the medical staff at the Royal Hobart Hospital for their excellent care of Maurice. Sharing your memories and stories of Maurice with others here today is equally as important as what we've just shared. So with this in mind, you're most welcome to join the family here at Parkside for refreshments following the burial service. And this is where you can share your memories of Maurice with each other. Very shortly we'll be taking Maurice to his final resting place at the Burney Lawn Cemetery just across the way. We invite you to join us for his burial service, but if you're unable to come with us, you're most welcome to wait here at Parkside for the family to return. Please stand if you're able.
Didn't know today would be our last, or that I'd have to say goodbye to you so fast. I'm so numb I can't feel anymore. I'm praying you just walk back through that door and tell me that I was only dreaming. You're not really gone as long as I believe. There will be another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight. Always made my troubles feel so small, and you were always there to catch me when I'd fall. In a world where heroes come and go, well, God just took the only one I know. So I'll hold you as close as I can, longing for the day when I see your face again. But until then, God must need another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight, singing hallelujah. Just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight.